I was going to look at Ruth chapter 3 verse 1 and use it as a basis to actually go back into chapter 2 as we move ahead into chapter 3. And so if you'll look with me, the book of Ruth. Ruth chapter 3 verse 1. Ruth chapter 3 verse 1 says this, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. It says, "Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, 'My daughter, shall I not seek security or rest for you, that it may be well with you? Shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you?'" Amen. For a few minutes, I want us to think about this topic. He is the one. He's the one. He is the one. He's the one. He's the one. Amen. So two different ways. He's the one. He is the one. Amen. Whichever way you like it. That's the subject for this morning. Amen. For this afternoon. He's the one. In chapter 2, remember I shared with us, we are introduced to Boaz. We are introduced to Boaz. God, in His providence, is orchestrating. He's working. He's moving in the lives of Naomi and Ruth and Boaz to bring them together to accomplish, to fulfill His purpose and His plan. And so what we see in Ruth chapter 2, we see the hand of the Lord as he brings them together, most especially as He brings together Boaz and Ruth. Ruth goes out one morning. She knows that in order for her and her mother-in-law to be able to survive, they need food. And so since she has youth on her side, she makes the decision to go and to work for both of them, for the benefit of both of them. And so she leaves the house that morning, chapter 2, and she makes her way into the field, not knowing really which field to go into. She's guided by the Lord. She trusts the Lord to direct her to the right field, and that field happens to be the field of Boaz. All right. And what we learn as we've looked through chapter 2 is that Boaz is also a near relative of Naomi. She is a near relative of Elimelech, Naomi's husband. And we share with you that as a near relative of Naomi and Ruth, that Boaz has a responsibility as a kinsman redeemer, amen, to buy back, to restore, to redeem Ruth and Naomi, amen, by means of his desire and choice to do so, but also by means of his wealth, amen, to restore unto them that which has been lost. That's right. That's right. That which has been lost. And so in chapter 2, we see Ruth and Boaz meeting for the first time, and we conclude chapter 2 with Naomi sharing with her daughter-in-law that she needs to stay near Boaz. All right. Since he has promised to take care of her, since he has promised to provide for her, since he has promised to protect her, it would be in Ruth's best interest, amen, not to go to another field, but to stay right there in the field of Boaz. As we begin chapter 3, this statement of Ruth, or rather this statement of Naomi, we see Naomi wanting to go even further. She says to her daughter-in-law, I want to make sure that you're secure. I want to make sure that you are secure. Maybe Naomi is looking at her own life and realizing that she does not have many days left, whereas Ruth is a young lady and as we see it, has more time on her side, and knowing that she's not able to provide for Ruth like someone else would be able to provide for Ruth, here Naomi decides that she's going to help Ruth out.
All right.
She shares with Ruth, she says, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Shall I not seek rest for you, that things might be well with you? Amen. This security, this rest that Naomi speaks of, it is rest that comes when one's needs are being met.
All right.
It's rest that comes when one's needs are being rest. It is a kind of rest, amen, that can only be supplied by God. Amen. That can only be supplied by God as one submits to his word and his will. And that's what we've seen in chapter 2.
That's right. That's right.
We see Ruth, who has submitted to the word and to will of God. We meet Boaz, who has submitted, amen, to the word and the will of God. And as Naomi sees it, amen, these two need to come together as a couple so that they two can together may fulfill the will of God. And so Naomi, who is well versed in the culture of her people, she makes the decision to assist Ruth and Boaz because she knows that Ruth needs someone, amen, to provide for her and to protect her and to care for her. I've shared with you before that there are various instances in Scripture. Where God gives us a glimpse of the coming of Christ. Amen. God gives us a glimpse of the coming of Christ. And I've shared with you before, he has done this so that when Christ made his earthly appearance, there would be so many pictures of him that when he came, those who were looking for him would not miss him. Amen. And I think I've explained it, or I've attempted to explain it. Kind of like us taking a trip to Nashville. Anybody ever been to Nashville? Amen. Here before? Amen. You take a trip to Nashville, and when you set out, you see that sign that says $199. Amen. 199 miles from Memphis to Nashville. And so you set your GPS, you set your cruise control, you set your vehicle in an eastwardly direction to go to Nashville.
All right.
And as you begin to count down the miles, amen, you first encounter a city that's called Jackson, Tennessee.
Amen.
There's some other little cities along the way, but we ain't going to There's a major city you encounter is a city called Jackson, Tennessee. How many of you here this morning know that Jackson is not Nashville? Amen. If you set your cruise control, if you set your GPS, if you set your mind to go to Nashville, then Jackson won't do it. But somebody might say, well, Jackson is closer. But Jackson is not Nashville. And so you move past Jackson, Tennessee, and you continue in an easterly direction on your way to Nashville. Amen. But if you're not careful, if you don't follow the signs, if you don't know where you're going, you can overshoot Nashville and end up in Knoxville. Now, just like Jackson is not Nashville, Knoxville is not Jackson, and it's not Nashville.
All right.
And if you want to go to Nashville, Knoxville won't do.
That's right.
Knoxville won't do. What are you saying, preacher? Get to the point. Amen. For those who were looking for Jesus,
Come on now.
John the Baptist wouldn't do.
All right.
Yeah.
But didn't he come before Jesus? Wasn't he the forerunner? Amen. Didn't he come preaching, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world? Amen. Why not settle for John the Baptist? Amen. You can settle for John the Baptist, but in settling for John the Baptist, you won't get Jesus. For those who were looking for Jesus, only Jesus satisfies. So in order that people wouldn't miss Jesus when he came, amen, the Lord gave us signs in the Old Testament so that when he arrived, people would be able to recognize and know that he had made his appearance. Here it is. Boaz is a picture. He is a type. He is a prefiguring of the coming of Jesus Christ. Now, Boaz is not Christ. But Boaz simply serves as a picture, as a type, so that when Jesus came on the scene, those who were looking for him would know that Jesus had arrived.
All right.
And so what we have here in this beautiful picture, this beautiful story. I mean, how many in here this morning don't love a love story? Amen. This is a beautiful love story, amen, between Boaz and Ruth. Amen. It's a beautiful love story of boy meets girl. Amen. And we see Naomi doing what she can to make that meeting possible. And so she says to Ruth, she says to her, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Some of the things that we see in Boaz serve as a picture or a type of what we see ultimately in Jesus Christ. And I just want to kind of go back and share some of those things with you, because I want to keep at the forefront the statement that Naomi makes to Ruth. I want to make sure you're secure. I want to make sure that you're secure. And so as Naomi considers the situation, she was convinced that Boaz was the right one for Ruth. Amen. Just a side note here. Amen. Amen. For those that I counsel in preparation for marriage, amen, I look at some of the same things in the young groom, amen, that I see in Boaz. Amen. Right. So if you come to me for counseling and you want me to perform your wedding ceremony, amen, I need to let you know that there are certain things that I'm looking for. Amen. In order for me to make the decision that yes, I'll do your ceremony and I'll be glad to pronounce you a husband and wife one day. And some of y'all looking at me kind of funny. Amen. Because one of the things you need to understand, and that is this: when you come to me for counseling, basically you're giving me a license to meddle.
Okay.
All right.
Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. Amen. Now listen, I'm not pushy now. If you don't want me to meddle, I won't meddle. Amen. But I'm like a doctor. Amen. If you go to a doctor for treatment, if you don't tell him what's wrong, he can't tell you how to get it right. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. Amen. We all good here this morning, y'all? Some of y'all nervous now. They said, wait a minute, I was going to come to him, but now I'm getting sad. Amen. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. Amen. I meddle good because I want things to go well with you. Amen. It's not one of those nasty meddlings where I find out what's going on in your life and then I go call somebody. Amen. I keep it to myself. Amen. Just you, me, and the Lord. They're the only. Amen. We the only ones that know about what's going on. Amen. Somebody say amen this morning. Y'all mighty quiet this morning. Amen. Y'all mighty quiet this morning. Amen. But here it is. She sees in Boaz the right one. Because one of the things we're going to find out in chapter 3 is this: that there's actually another relative that's even closer than Boaz. But here Naomi has set her sights that Boaz is the right one for Ruth. So what are the things that we see in Boaz that made him the right one for Ruth? Well, first of all, he was a Christian. Somebody say amen. Amen. You know the Bible does say don't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever, right? For what fellowship has light with darkness? Amen. How many of you know here this morning that darkness and light can't stay in the same room? And that's what Paul is making reference to. Amen. That as a child of light, what do you have in common with someone who lives in darkness?
All right now.
As one who was saved, what do you have in common with someone who's not saved? Amen. As one who's been born again, amen, who's twice born, he said, what do you have in common with one who's been once born? And so we talked about the fact that Boaz was a Christian. If you look in chapter 2, amen, verse 4, amen, you'll find that when he comes to his workers, he says to them, the Lord be with you. And we're studying in our Bible study time the word Lord, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, is the word for Lord that makes reference to one who has a desire for relationship.
All right. Yes.
Boaz was a Christian. He had a relationship with God. He was a child of God. Now, for those of you who are wondering, amen, if you come to me for counseling, I'm not so much concerned as what church he goes to.
All right.
Or what church he goes to, as I am is whether or not they're a Christian.
Right.
Because I've discovered you can go to church and still not be a Christian. Can I apply a little closer to the corn? You can pastor a church and still not be a Christian. So my desire is to know whether or not they have been twice born, whether or not he or she is a child of God. You know something else I want to know? As I see here in the life of Boaz, Boaz had character. Not only was he a Christian, he was a man of character. Remember the backdrop, the setting of the book of Ruth. The backdrop, the setting of the book of Ruth is consistent with what was going on in the book of Judges. And we find in the book of Judges this statement: every man did that which was right in their own eyes. While everyone else was doing what was right in their own eyes, Boaz was doing what was right in God's eyes. And even Naomi spoke of the fact when she talked to her daughter-in-law Ruth, and she says to him, you need to stay with this guy Boaz. Because even in the midst of what we are going through, amen, God has used him to bless us. And that God has shown that he has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. Amen. The character that we are to display as believers should be consistent with who we are in Christ.
Yeah.
Sure, you're right. That's right.
Should be consistent with who we are in Christ. We are children of light. And as children of light, we have to walk in the light. Amen. This was a light of mine. Is that what we're saying? Amen. I'm going to let it sound. I ain't never heard someone say this little darkness that I am. They don't even sound right, does it?
No, it don't.
Amen. Somebody laugh at me back there. But he had Christian character. He carried himself as a man who knew God. Okay? Can I share something with you ladies? I can say this to you because I am a man. And I think I have enough authority to say this. Ladies, speaking especially to the single ladies now. Some men some men will say what they think you want to hear. And some men, in order to win your favor, will even come to church sometime. If they think that'll put them in good with you. All right, that's what you say. Listen, no. Some guys know how to say it. Because you know, when you listen, you do know in most cases when we date, we put our best foot forward. You do know that, don't you? And see, one of the responsibilities I have as a counselor, counseling folks for marriage, I gotta get them ready when they have to wake up in the same bed with the same person who hasn't had a chance to put on makeup. Help me this morning, somebody. You see, when Val and I were dating, she lived what she lived, I live what I live. And when we made the decision to go out on a date, she had time to get herself together. I had time to get myself together. But now, since we've been married almost 25 years, sometimes I see her at her worst, and all the time she see me at my worst. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. I need some couples saying amen in here this morning. But you know what? What's so wonderful about it, that even though after almost 25 years, we see each other before the makeup, and before the teeth are brushed, and before the clothes are put on, all of them matching. You'd be surprised to know that when I walk around the house at home, I don't match. Whatever's called, listen, I got some shoes that got built-in air conditioning at the bottom of them. Now, I would have never thought to wear those shoes while I was dating Val, but Val already know about them now, so why should I have? I hope I'm getting through to somebody. I'm going to move on in a second. I just need to let you know, amen, that ultimately what Boaz shows us, and what you need to seek in a possible mate, amen, is someone who exemplifies Christ, whether they're in public or whether they're in private. Whether they're in the ballroom or whether they're in the bedroom. Someone who exemplifies Christ, not because they're putting on an act.
Come on now.
Not because they're putting on a show. Not because they're trying to win your affection, but they exemplify Christ because that's who they are. I know I'm right about it, y'all. So he had Christian character, he had character. But he was also compassionate. Boaz had a genuine desire to care for Ruth. And you see it in the fact that he gives her a little extra grain.
That's right.
You see it in the fact that when it's time for them to eat lunch, he said, no, don't go over there something by yourself. Come over here and eat with us. You see it in the fact that when it's time for her to go home, he sends a little extra grain home. And I share with you, that when she shows up back home, Naomi is so surprised by how much she has, she begins to ask questions because it's difficult for her to fathom that one woman can collect all that in one day. Amen. Amen. You need somebody who genuinely cares for you.
Oh, yeah.
But then lastly, he was also capable. Because remember I shared with you that as a kinsman redeemer, he had to have the means. He had to have the resources to fulfill the responsibility of what was needed by Ruth.
That's right.
Amen. Mama would say, listen, you need to have a man that's got a job. You need somebody who's able to provide for you. Provide for the household. You need somebody who's not afraid of work. Who will get up in the morning and go and perform the task of his job.
Yes.
Amen. And then when he gets paid, bring the money home. Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. You ask some of the brothers I'm counseling right now. God puts a great responsibility on the man. That's why you see in the Garden of Eden, when sin has entered the world, he does not say, Eve, where are you? He says, Adam. Adam, where are you? I'm holding you responsible, Adam, because I gave you the command.
Yes.
Hallelujah to the Lamb of God. Listen, I'm trying to cut it off right there and move on to my next point.
Yes, sir.
It needs to be honorable work.
Yes, sir.
We can't stay at home and play games.
Honorable.
Amen. Amen. If you can't file on your taxes, you might not need to be.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes.
Hallelujah to the Lamb of God.
Yes, Lord.
These things we see in Boaz. Watch this now. I'm getting ready to turn the page on.
Come on now.
These things that we see in Boaz serves as a prefiguring or a picture with regards to what we need in Christ.
All right, all right, all right.
We talk about Boaz being a Christian. But when it came to what we needed in Christ, amen, we needed the anointed one.
Yeah. Okay.
I shared with you just a minute ago that there was another kinsman who was even closely or even closer related to Ruth and Naomi than Boaz was. But when Boaz goes to him in chapter 3 and he tells him about the situation, he says, I can't do it.
Can't do it.
How many of you know here this morning that when it comes to your salvation and my salvation, there's only one who could do it? It was the anointed one, the Messiah. Amen. Whereas Boaz had character, amen, Jesus has holiness.
Yes.
He's the holy one.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
He is holy. He is holy. Amen. The Bible says that when it came to your salvation and my salvation, amen, what the Father was looking for was one who had no sin.
Yes.
Moses couldn't save me.
Come on, preacher.
Jeremiah couldn't save me.
Yeah.
Abraham couldn't save me. Had to be someone who had no sin.
No sin.
He's the anointed one. He's the holy one.
Yes.
Whereas Boaz had compassion, Jesus Christ is the merciful one.
Yes. Merciful. Yes.
One of the things about our salvation that, you know what, just brings so much joy to my heart is this. And that is, despite Christ knowing how messed up I was, he came for me.
Thank you, Lord.
Somebody say hallelujah. You can say the same. I'm going to say it for me. I ain't going to say it for you. I can only say it for me. Despite him knowing how messed up I was, he came for me. That's not mercy, y'all. That's not mercy, y'all. He knows how messed up you are. And still came and gave his life. So basically what I'm saying when it comes to your salvation and my salvation, amen, not only is Christ the anointed one, not only is Christ the holy one, not only is he the merciful one, he's the only one. He's the only one that could have purchased salvation for you and for me. And I close with this. Notice what Naomi says to Ruth. She says, shall not find security, shall not find rest for you. Watch this, y'all. The only security, the only rest that we can find is in Jesus Christ. Amen. Can I tell you something, y'all? I'm on my way to my seat. We get ready to come to the Lord's table. Can I tell y'all something, y'all? We like security, don't we? We like security for our physical being, so we put alarms on stuff, right? Y'all want me just a second. And we got an alarm in this church. And we got an alarm in our houses. And we even like for our material things to be secure. So what? We put alarm on our cars. Amen. Amen. We like security. And listen, we want security for our bodies. And that's why we go to the doctor, right? We want to be able to go to the doctor and have the doctor tell us that you've got a clean bill of health, that everything's all right, and I don't need to see you for another year. We like security for those things, right? But watch this. I can't promise you security for your house. Because how many know even with alarms, folks will still break in and steal? I can't promise you security for your car. Amen, because they know how to get around that too. I can't even promise you security for your body, because one day may come when you go to the doctor and he does tell you, or she does tell you, there's something wrong. I can't promise you some security that can't be stolen. I can promise you some security that can't be taken away. I can promise you some security that will never rust. That is the security of knowing Jesus Christ, the anointed one, the holy one, the merciful one, the only one, as your Lord and Savior. Isn't that good, y'all? The greatest security you can have is the security of your soul. With peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast told me to say, it is well, watch this, not with my house. It is well, not with my car. It is well, not with my health. It is well, not with my bank account. But it is well with your soul. When you're on your sick bed, you need to know your soul is well. Even when they break in your house, you need to know your soul is well. Even when they steal your house, you need to know your soul is well. Hallelujah to the Lord. You know, thank you for the security that only comes with knowing Jesus Christ as our Savior and Lord. In your precious name we thank you. Amen. And thank God. Give the Lord a hand of praise.